removing entities, I actually firmly believe that what my role is in removing them is also sending them back to source. So we call it destroying in this 3D world, but really what I'm doing is I'm blasting them with unconditional love to the point that they come back to wholeness. And so when I capture them, for me, I want to know the root cause. Let's say in the rear of the throat chakra or the rear of the third eye chakra, it connected. Once I remove it and I bring back their natural light, once I capture the entity, I actually want to send it back to source. Because what's going to end up happening is if I remove and do not restore your natural energy, it'll replug.
Yes.
Right? And then if I just remove it, but I've restored your natural energy, it'll just continue to go and host.
So welcome to Tapping In. Have you guys been feeling like energy kind of coming into the room where it makes you feel a little bit off? Well, you're in the right place, because in this episode, we're going to be talking about discernment, interference with the energy around us. And I have an expert with me today. I have Victoria Pippo. She's an energy healer. She's a psychic teacher. She's absolutely incredible, you guys, and I can't wait for you to meet her. Here she is, everybody. Drum roll. Victoria!
Thank you so much.
Yeah, welcome. I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you. We've had like the most extraordinary synergy. From the second we walked in, it was like, hello, old starseed friend. How are you? So I think this is going to be such a good chat today.
So much fun. So one thing I love about your work is you're always helping people to discern the energy in the room, making them feel like those thoughts aren't necessarily their own, those maybe feelings that they're feeling. How did you start helping them with that?
I love that you probably already noticed as well that when I came in today, I noticed everything around me. That's so important for me. I'm like, oh, okay, the incense is going. How does the energy feel in this space? Actually feels really vibrant. The energy's quite welcoming from everybody I've connected with. I really read the room, but I didn't always do that. When I had my awakening, so let's go back to 2019, I was your average, sensitive, intuitive artist that sponged absolutely everything around me. And I think as artists, like, it's so important that we feel the raw material of life until we're like, who am I though? Who am I? And I had always felt that as a performer, I could sponge everyone else's experiences, and that worked for me in a lot of strength until it got to the point where I was actually starting my spiritual awakening journey. And I was like, I actually don't even know who I am, what I like, and who I am inside of time and space. So that was like the start of, wait, I actually don't really know who I am. And through meditation, through sitting in deep practice, through quieting the noise, I started to have like very intense psychic and spiritual insights where I would connect with different spirits that would come through. The first most notable one was my grandfather. I was sitting in meditation and a voice came through, just like as clear as we were having this conversation today. And was like, I am your grandfather. I am your spirit guide, and I've been with you your whole life. I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like this sensitive kid who's trying to meditate because I have ADHD and childhood trauma, and I'm trying to wake up, and I'm trying to understand who I am.
Sisters?
Are we like
The
twin flames?
Oh, no. Wait a second. Am I looking in the mirror right
No, we are tapping in.
now? Yeah, I know. It's so cool. Because everything you're saying, I'm like, yeah, me too. Yeah. But go on. I love it.
Yeah, so this voice came through, and it was my first experience. From here, I was like, whoa, we have been told a lie. Like, why hasn't anybody taught this in the education system and the systems of the world? Like, I'm sitting here and an old man came through my consciousness.
Yeah.
So from here, I began to work with this spiritual energy, connecting with him, working with him, getting insights from him. He naturally led me to tarot cards, crystals, astrology, things like that. I started the quest of understanding myself. But again, I still didn't bring in any level of sovereignty to the space. I started to rely on my guide.
Yes.
I started to rely on the tools.
Right.
I started to rely on the things outside of myself. And I do believe that there's a point where that matters until, again, you're like, I can't read whether or not I feel good energy from you. I can't feel when I travel to new spaces all the time, what sort of spiritual energy is going on here? Because not all land's the same. Not all spiritual energy is the same. Not all people's energies are created equal. And so, beautiful spiritual journey. I'm kind of riding this high of like new age bliss where I'm like, everything is love and light and I'm a conscious creator. And then towards the end of 2022, I found out that I had multiple nefarious entity attachments attached to my energy. For me, that looked like health decline, extreme panic attacks, waking up for months on end with this feeling of being choked. I would wake up having nothing around me. My fiance was sleeping, but I would have this feeling like something's in the room. But again, because I had no frame of reference, nobody taught me about this. Right. I thought, oh, I must have had a bad dream.
Bad dream. Or am I sick? Like, what's
wrong, right? We try to conceptualize it. Oh, I might be having panic attacks because the world is like this. Or right. I might be having this challenge sleeping because I need to take, melatonin and knock out harder. Like there was no, maybe there's something else.
Right.
And so this lasted for months. Suicidal ideation. I call it going into this black tunnel where I felt like I couldn't get myself out of it. Felt like I was fighting against something. And then one day I reached out to a healer that I knew that was a part of the beginning of my spiritual awakening, but I hadn't chatted to in multiple years. And I said, I think something is going on in my energy. I have deep down this sliver of feeling that something is wrong and I don't have the access to what that is. And her response to me, she had talked to me in multiple years, was, yeah, you need some support. You need some support. And that's when I found out I had multiple nefarious attachments that changed my life forever.
I'm just loaded up with freaking goosebumps. I'm like, oh my God.
Because you get it, you know?
You get it. And you see it. And especially when you start your whole journey, like you said, at first you're just like, I get it. I'm so open. I am love.
Yes.
I feel the current moving through me.
Yes.
But then when you start getting the dense energy, the negative thoughts,
yes,
it almost catches you off guard. Like, wait, first of all, you take it personally sometimes, like, well, why me? Like, why are they attaching to me? Or what did I open myself up to?
Yes.
But I think what's important about this work is these entities, these low frequencies, it's just like dust.
Yes.
Right? It doesn't matter. Everybody gets them all the time. What's important is starting to recognize what your frequency is like so that you can start to say, okay, this is not mine.
Yep.
And if it is mine, if it is a darker thought, what's the message?
Yes.
Can I use it? And now let it go.
Yes. Yes. And I feel like a lot of people don't even know where to start with discerning what is some sort of external potential being or spirit that's been latching to my energy and what's actually something internal, that's emotional, that's in this lifetime, that's traumatizing, that's some sort of shadow. And I find that, at least in my experience with the spiritual community, when I had this experience, I felt like all I received was this sense of feeling gaslit by my experience. Like there wasn't anyone that was like, this happens when you're a very powerful being. And it's okay.
Right.
It's okay. Like we can work with this. There's nothing wrong with you. This actually sometimes can happen because you're powerful, not because you're low vibe or you're the problem. Like if your house is clean, you're going to notice dust way more than if your dust is always around the house. Like when you're vibrationally high, you're sensitive, you're intuitive, you pick things up. I like to say you're like the Ferrari in the spiritual community versus a Prius. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just sensitive people.
Prius could be a nice car. If you have a Prius out there.
There's nothing wrong with a Prius. Just know that.
I mean, it's not a Ferrari, but it's okay.
It's like the experience of life is different when you're on your awakening journey, when you're highly sensitive and you pick up a lot of energy around you. You felt like you don't belong most of your life and that there's this hyper awareness in life. And that's what I had my entire life.
And I think now doing this work, I think it's more about you realizing you have a choice. I think most people are asleep. So when you have those negative thoughts, they just tie into that inner negative monologue.
Yes.
So they just feel extra depressed.
Yes.
They don't realize it's something separate. But because you, let's say, cleaned your energy field, it's much more... you're much more aware of the shift, right?
Yes.
So basically now the work is, it's always happening because we live in duality.
Yes.
But how would you recommend someone when they are receiving a negative voice or a dark entity, how to handle it?
Yes. So first we want to know which one is it? Is it internal or external? Okay. And the way I like to explain it is this. If it's external, it will feel invasive. Something comes out of nowhere and there's this sense that something is trying to enter your energy. It'll feel foreign. Like if we're in a room and suddenly this odd scent comes in and the computers, TVs, all the technology starts to glitch. Why is that? That's foreign. It's invasive. Benevolent spirits won't do that. So this is usually a first indication of, maybe there's something else in the room. So there's a sense of foreignness. If it's yours, it will feel like your own story, inner monologue is coming up. And it will feel, in a way, discomfort, but natural at the same time. And so that's the first kind of way to discern. Does it feel like someone's breaking into my house? Right. And that feeling will feel, where did that come from? That feels off, odd, or foreign, right? Sparking out of nowhere versus, whoa, this is a story that I think I feel familiar with. I feel I loop a lot, and it feels personal to me. From here, let's say we have discerned that there's something external. I like to follow my protocols of revoking. So I think we can forget in times like this that we are sovereign beings of light. And that something as simple as commanding that we revoke, such as, let's say this is actually happening, we are sovereign beings of light. And in this moment, we revoke any access to any tears in my energy, leaks in my field, attachments or fragments. So attachments are like actually connecting to my light cords. Fragments are like the dust. Leaks are like something is opening, right? And a tear is like my aura is already open for some reason, and it can enter through the tear like a broken piece of paper. Right? From here, it's like, I'm actually not available for any of this. And as a conscious creator, I now revoke any of this from my energetic field. So that's step one after the, I guess, preliminary step, which is discern. What is it? Right. Then we go into revoke through command. From here, we would just wait. Did everything get set up naturally again, right? Did all the TVs, all of the electricity go back to normal? Did that scent leave? Is there this feeling of something's lifted up and out? If that has not happened yet, we just take deep breaths and continue to revoke. We are unavailable. One thing I like to do is I like to puff my spiritual feathers. So imagine you're a peacock, right? Imagine puffing gratitude, love, wholeness, whatever kind of feeling you can tap into that allows you to connect into the fact that you are in control. You are in charge, and you do not allow this influence to control you. So you might puff your feathers and think, I am a sovereign being of light. I am in control of this, and I am unavailable for this. And then usually with that unconditional love, plus that command, the energy will shift.
I love that. That's so important.
It's so important. Most people don't know.
Yes.
They don't know. And then by then they've unconsciously consented in some way because they think it's their thought, right? Or they're not able to tell, whoa, that was foreign. I've got something to do with what's coming through. Instead, they feel more fear. Yes. They feel more terror.
And that's what you were taught,
yes.
Right? Like, oh, be careful if you do this work because
yes.
you're going to invite that in.
Yes.
And I feel with this work, it's actually the complete opposite because
yes.
now you own your space,
yes.
right? And you're able to say, no, I'm not comfortable with this. You
yes.
have to leave.
Yes.
So it's actually, and your eyes are open.
Yes.
Right? So you have more control.
Yes. Instead of like, don't touch me.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm afraid.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
Wherever you are.
Totally. And oftentimes you end up getting like, I'm pretending I'm not afraid,
right.
but I'm actually really petrified. But because I'm spiritual, I'm going to pretend that it
right.
doesn't exist, right?
I'm really not afraid. Where's my garlic brunch?
Yeah, exactly.
And my holy water.
That's it.
And my cross.
Yeah, it's like, so instead of pretending it doesn't exist, because it's very clear that we are in a realm of duality, right? To master this realm by yes. being conscious of what actually is happening on a dualistic reality. Usually what I find happens is that people try to transcend it. And in transcending it, they actually create more loops in their energy. Because if you pretend that we are all one and that nothing is trying to separate us from that one, then you're available to everything.
That's a good one.
Right?
That should be like highlighted, right?
That's the thumbnail.
Circle. Because it's true sometimes, like I'm big and like, I'm going to transmute this energy,
yeah.
but instead reclaim your space and basically be like, no, like, because it's going to exist.
Yes.
Right? So
every level.
And go exist somewhere else.
Yes.
Get out of my house.
Well, think about it this way. When you've risen in power or you're going through a breakthrough, usually some form of test happens. Always. Right? And so if you're growing, you're going to be experiencing these different types of little interferences that are going to try to knock you off your path. Mm-hmm. This is why most people don't grow, but they think, oh, I'm sabotaging, or oh, right. this test happened, or oh, this thing happened, instead of, wait a second, is that something external that sees my power as a threat, that is directly trying to deviate me from that path? What if I revoke and command my sovereignty, feel my faith from within, right? Fortify myself by ground, shield, protect, and cleanse, and keep going. And suddenly, not only does your light get more visible, so you become more of a threat, but you know what to do with it so you can keep breaking through.
And also you're so much more grounded because you love yourself so much more, right? And you're also not looking to be influenced by outer sources because you know who you are. So it almost starts to just bounce off of you because it no longer resonates.
Yes. Well, isn't it crazy though that we wake up on this journey to figure out who we are, and then at some point we get to the point that we're like, I've sought so much, but why do I feel like I don't have myself? You know, I work with very, very powerful advanced souls, and the fundamentals of grounding their energy, being able to revoke, discern what's in a field, and actually follow and hear their intuition, somehow for most people are actually quite amiss, which tells me that in the pursuit of ascension, transcending, hitting higher dimensions, we're losing the foundation of discernment, which means we don't actually have anything, because if we can't tell what it's not, then we believe everything that it is, and not everything that it is as it is.
Right.
So now we're just walking consent.
Right. It's so interesting that you say this because just a couple of weeks ago, the message has all been to go down.
Yes.
Right. And then I connected to 2 chakras below the Earth Star chakra.
Yep.
And opening up there, all of a sudden, it was just like platinum. You know, the platform started to form. I saw beings where it was just kind of like opening the door to all these different interdimensional beings that live in the center of the earth. And it was kind of like opening the door and being like, okay, so it doesn't look like anyone was expecting me.
I showed up to the party.
It was a little awkward at first. I don't know. Did I dress okay?
Am I in my light body? Am I wearing clothes? Am I naked?
But it was so great because when I started doing that, everything became stronger. And I thought it's so interesting because we're taught in so many traditions, I'll just say, that down below is dangerous. Don't go down there. That's hell. That's fire. That's danger. So I think mentally, subconsciously, everybody's like, well, I want to go to heaven. I want to go to what's above because that's light and that's love. But if we don't go down, you don't plug in.
Yes.
You can't hold the light in the third dimension.
Yes.
So basically, we're like these little dust balls that like balls of light, but we're not able to be conduits because I don't like to say job, but one of the reasons why I feel like I'm here is to allow the higher currents of consciousness and light to flow through me so that it's almost like acupuncture, I guess, for Mother Gaia, right? We're letting the energy flow through us of love. And the more of us that can do that, we're transmuting the denseness, the cloud, the entities. And the more of us that we wake up in each other, just saying, hey, I love you for you. You don't have to change, right? There's nothing about you we have to change. We're just peeling away all the layers that are giving you static, that don't make you, that make you feel disconnected from you, because the real you is incredible, is light. You're, like you said, a starseed. So I find personally that there's a lot of different types of entities that interfere with our work, with our life. What type of entities do you find are out there?
Yeah, so I actually think that in different dimensions, there are different types of entities. Some are astral spirits that are trapped in this fourth dimension. They chose not to transcend back to source, to wholeness. There are entities in our gut. We just call them parasites, right? They need your energy source to survive. 4D astral beings, spirits, they dance in the realm of trying to manipulate you a lot of times in the dreams. So in the dream time, when you're in the liminal space in meditation, trickery, pretending to be a certain spirit, you consent, they attach, they need your life form, your life force to survive. And then I've actually found higher dimensional beings. These ones tend to cloak themselves as your ascended masters. So a lot of times you'll see people who say, I talked to Jesus. And I would say, okay, that's great, but how do you know? And usually, if they cannot give me a full vetting process of, well, I challenged its vibration, it showed me that it was true, it didn't have any bargaining, wagering, or any sort of attempt to grasp at my ego, then I would say, okay, this might be actually a true spirit. However, a lot of times they don't have a vetting process. And so in these higher dimensions, these beings play through those where their crowns are open. They don't necessarily have or believe in discernment. And then they connect directly with a being that actually more so manipulates them through their upper chakras than their lower chakras. So different entities will prey off of different chakras.
Yes.
And depending on what is the strength in your energy and what is your weakness. And usually a lot of times they're almost always the same thing. So for example, my mission is my strength. but it's also the source of my weakness because I want it so badly that it's so easy to flip into something that's not strength. So then it can connect to either the vulnerabilities in my mission. It can connect to the strengths in my mission. It really just depends on the type of being, what they need in order to survive, and then if they're connecting to my light cords or to my dark cords or my negative cords, and that's how they plug in.
So interesting. I love that. I've seen it before where they plug into the back of the head.
Yep.
And again, using the clairvoyance, I could see that they ripped through the mental layer.
Yep.
And then they leave it as a big open hole.
Yep.
And then what's so interesting is I'll see somebody just be totally fine, happy, and then the energy plugs in and it's like all of a sudden they're cranky and they're a thing. And I'm just like, what just happened there? Right? Yeah. There's a switch and that's not you.
Yes.
How does it feel in your body? Just so you could start to become aware of it and maybe name it.
Yep.
So at least you can identify it and now tell it to leave so that you're familiar if this energy kind of comes back.
Yes. And so the way that I actually work, especially when it comes to removing entities, I actually firmly believe that what my role is in removing them is also sending them back to source. So we call it destroying in this 3D world, but really what I'm doing is I'm blasting them with unconditional love to the point that they come back to wholeness. And so when I capture them, for me, I want to know the root cause. Let's say in the rear of the throat chakra or the rear of the third eye chakra, it connected. Once I remove it and I bring back their natural light, once I capture the entity, I actually want to send it back to source. Because what's going to end up happening is if I remove and do not restore your natural energy, it'll replug.
Yes.
Right? And then if I just remove it, but I've restored your natural energy, it'll just continue to go and host.
So how do you hold it? Get a little jar, you're like...
Actually, spiritually, I do. So if
great.
I'm deep in my remote meditation, that's where I do it. I do all my work remotely.
Yes.
I'll be interdimensionally connected and I'll see my guides go and capture it like we're actually playing a game.
Yes.
Capture it and then put it in what looks like a giant freezer.
That's awesome.
Or like a metal chamber.
Yes.
Yeah. And from there, then we start sending the frequencies of light to them. And that's how you'll actually watch them like
just
defractalize and come back into their wholeness. And
so
it depends because different...
So important.
It is because I've heard a lot of facilitators say, you know, I lead these amazing retreats and people are, you know, I've been able to remove, you know, all of these entities from somebody. And I'm like, do you realize how dangerous what you're doing is in a very uncontrolled environment, such as a retreat space where you don't actually know what every individual's interference is. Yes. Now you're opening up the field. And now you're saying you're removing entities. And now that entity can go and connect to that person's light cores, that person's negative cords.
That, right? If you see it with somebody that started off really bright and somebody was a little darker, it just shifted and you're like, what happened?
It happens a lot. And a lot of the people that end up coming to me are like, I went to a temple in Egypt with some people. I went to this retreat.
What I brought back with me.
Yeah, it's like, oh, my life fell apart. And I just thought, oh, it's a lot of times I'm integrating.
Right. That's the other one.
Right? It's like, are you? Or did everything suddenly decline, which is totally different than, you know, I need 3 to 5 business days to like process this experience. Very different.
Right.
And so sometimes people can't even discern, is this integration or is this something else?
So how do I handle that? I just came back from a retreat and all of a sudden my life's a shit show. And automatically I think, well, they did say I'm going to lose friends. I'm going to lose things I was attached to.
Yep.
What's that fine line where it's an entity or this is really part of my lesson?
Well, first and foremost, I think we need to acknowledge that the less you plug into all the cooks in the kitchen, the clearer you're going to be about where directly it came from. So oftentimes those that are in retreats, they're also the ones who are doing the Akashic readings and also going to the psychic every Wednesday and also going to the yoga. So it's like, it's hard to know, was it the cart or the horse? Was it the chicken? Was it the egg? Like what came first and what was it? So I always encourage people to proceed with caution. Really feel truth in your body before you make any investment when it comes to anything. Vet the facilitator. Really take the time to feel the congruence of their energy consistently. Right? So let's say that did happen. Now we went to the retreat. This is like the first retreat I've ever been on. I vetted the process. I love the way that they talk about protection, how they lead this space, blah, blah, blah. But I leave and everything starts to fall apart. And it's significant decline.
Right.
At least now I have a reference point and go, I was here, instead of, well, it could be that, it could be that, it could be that, it could be that. So that's a good start. From here, you'll start to notice that things will decline. And you'll sit with yourself and you'll ask yourself, is this natural? Or does this feel like something else? Does all of this that is changing feel right, or does it feel foreign? Because a lot of times, most of us already know the things that need to change in our life. And so after a retreat, if you and your partner separate, but you already knew long before the retreat,
Right.
that, you know, people know their intuition. It's just, we're so full of so many other noises that we can't hear what has been already pecking, because it's always pecking at the door.
Yes.
So to this point, is it natural? Or is it something else? Are the things that are changing suddenly in my life, do they feel like this is a natural byproduct of the growth that I experience, or does it feel like something else is happening here?
And in that, I think then just pause, realign, and confront the entity.
Yeah.
Just basically say, if this is not for me,
Yep.
then release it.
Well, I think it depends on the strength. So in my experience, let's go back to 2022 when I had multiple nefarious attachments. The strength that they had on me was stronger than what I could do on my own. And that was just my individual experience. I think that when they're preying on something so deep in my own psyche, it can feel like an impossible fight.
Yes.
I've worked with people who have been able to fight an impossible fight and had entities like scratch them, like cause harm physically to them, and they fought sovereignly on their own. But if you ask them, it was a fight for their life. And then they found my work, you know. And then there are instances like mine where I knew the fight that I was in was too much for me on my own. And so I think it really boils down to the individual. I would not recommend confronting an entity that you ultimately in some way are in some sort of war with. And if it feels like you do not have the strength to be able to fight for your natural light and safely remove and destroy it without the support, then I would encourage having support. Somebody who can see, somebody who can remove, somebody who can destroy and can do it in a sovereign way. And especially if you just went to the retreat, it's going to be very easy to find the source, remove it, restore your natural order, and continue on your life path.
That's so important.
Yeah, I think it's important to educate that you don't have to tackle it alone if you do not feel comfortable with that. And I know for my journey, that was the first time I'd ever had anything like that happen that I was aware of. Yes. I'm sure I channeled beings that were not who they said they were. I'm sure I did things that were not necessarily true, but I was traumatized by the experience. And I don't think that I could have healed my trauma while simultaneously remove and destroy entities that had been chasing me from lifetime to lifetime. And in that case, I needed to hire a professional that had the objective eye to help me get on my natural path
Like
of
it's
life.
Ghostbusters.
It is.
I gotta call you. I need your help right
Totally. But that's exactly what it is. And a lot of times that is the case for people who are highly sensitive, who have had an entity experience or some sort of interference experience. An objective eye helps them get on their natural path better than trying to be the one.
Yeah, because you're tied into the emotions and they're feeding you.
Totally.
Right? So if you're trying to fight it, it's feeding you your fears.
100%.
So
and it's so dark. Like, my fiance is here, so he knows, like, he would have to sit here with me and be like, this is not you. It's like, snap out of it. Like, I've had such a beautiful support because it went so dark. I remember I was in a bathtub eating pad thai, and I remember looking at him, telling him, I'm going to take my life right now. And he's like, what? This is not you. Like, truly snap out of it. And it requires such a deep level of strength that I think we've really glamorized. Like, it's this very easy thing. You go in, you grab it, you remove it, you're gone. Yeah. And it's not that. It's complex. It's attaching to things in our energy that are very deep-seated aspects of ourself that requires even the most evolved of us to have support with.
I find that so interesting that you said your partner sees it, because my husband will be the same way.
Yep.
I just had a big energy session with someone.
Yep.
And after the session, my husband was like, who did you just work with?
Mm-hmm.
Because whatever they did, you have this dark energy around you now. And it's almost like something that used to be around you like 20 years ago. And I was like, really? Because I thought it was a good experience.
Yes.
But I could feel it's almost like crinkling paper.
Yes.
Right? It's almost like, and at the same time, exactly what you said, they made me feel powerful though.
Yep.
Right? They're just like, no, I just connected to something bigger.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yes.
do you think sometimes, could it be the person leading the meditation, or did they just take me to a space that they're kind of not controlling, so to speak?
Both.
Okay.
Both. Like, A lot of times it's the facilitator who has some form of attachment. They don't know it. Now they don't even realize that they are almost grooming their community to be available for these entities to harvest and
That's
grow.
what they're building.
That's what they want, right? Entities want to grow in strength and size. And so if they can take someone who thinks that they're channeling Mary Magdalene every day,
Right.
and that person deeply feels powerful, their ego
Right.
wants to feel on purpose, and it's preying off, to my point about mission.
Right.
It's like, I'm on my purpose, I'm on my mission.
Right.
But it's also their weakness,
Right.
because if you took this away, they would feel like they weren't powerful. It's preying off of their strength and weakness. And then it's bringing in all these people who are like, oh, wait, you channel Mary Magdalene? That's so cool. I want to connect with that feminine energy. Now they're in all vulnerable energies, and this entity is just food for me, food for me, food for me, food for me. But it's all in the name of high vibration.
Vibration. I love that you're saying that. And I think what's so important is if automatically you feel negative about everything that you're doing.
Yes.
Because that's what happened. I was on this high horse and I was just like, life is good. It's amazing. Yeah, I'll do a meditation with you. You want to take me into this space. And then immediately afterwards, it was just like a,
Oh, shoot. Yep.
and then a crackle, and then like a, almost you feel like a
Hook. Yes.
a hook. And then I was just like, this is interesting. But again, the same time you want to be like, but wait, this meditation was supposed to be
Yes.
enlightening.
Yes.
This was supposed to make me more powerful. But now I have this film around me.
Yep.
And I love that you said that. And because I then had to do the same thing, like go back inside
Yes.
and re-question everything. Like, wait a second, this isn't me. And I don't feel this negative. I don't feel this much hatred,
Yes.
like naturally or for a long time. Like, what is this? And it almost feels like a slime within you too,
Yes.
where you're just like, I've been slime.
Yes.
Right?
You know, but it's very intricate too. And I feel called to share this with your audience. I've had people who've come into my world, not really say a word. So be in one of my close coaching containers, not really say a word, had very interesting energy. But at the time I was like, well, this is a business mastermind and I don't want to go into spirituality because maybe that doesn't totally feel like the right place. But then we all meet in person. The people who have extended in this mastermind for a continued amount of time got this in-person event with me and my fiance and my family. They came to this retreat and this woman came there. Now she's with my closest clients who've been in my world for a very long time. But I'm not staying the night there. I'm just coming in and teaching and leaving.
Right.
I walk in the next day and I'm thinking,
What?
ooh, it smells funky in here. But again, I'm at a business retreat. I'm leading as a business leader. I'm not going to tell my clients like, hey, there's a demon in the room.
Right.
And now your entire experience is thrown off. And so I monitored it. I let everybody trust themselves. And I saged the space. I set my revoking intentions and I let it be. Next thing you know, one by one, all of my clients turned on me and said, you're evil. I had a session with that girl that was in my mastermind that met all my clients and they said that you're this. They inverted perception to make me believe that I was the evil one. And my longest clients all fell for it. And so I want to educate about this because when you're really powerful, sometimes people are going to come into your inner circle and they're going to invert perception. So they make you think that you're the evil one. And this took me months of,
Wait a second.
if this is truth, I am not holy enough to believe that I've mastered if I've missed something, please make it obvious. So first, humble yourself. Like, holy, if this is real, please tell me. And all I got was confirmation. Trust in the Lord with all of your heart beyond your own understanding. Like, no power will be used against you. Like, you are the strength here.
Right.
And I felt like I was being shown by God or universe, source, whatever your audience connects with, that I was in truth.
Yes.
And I needed to hold that. And I watched in real time how entities can invert perception to make the person who's actually in truth posed as evil so that the people around will actually then gravitate more to the savior in this situation, which was actually the entity the whole time.
Yes.
And that was
when that happens.
It was the weirdest thing I have ever experienced, but it showed me how intricate this game actually is of duality.
Yes.
Because I was breaking through at that time. I was speaking more about what I wanted to do. I was talking more openly about discernment. I was exposing higher levels of hijacking interference. and then this happened.
Yes, but such a great lesson.
Yes.
And I think what's important for everybody to hear is that when you do get an entity, when you are attacked or whatever you want to call it, interference, that it doesn't mean you're a bad person.
Yes.
It doesn't mean that these entities are right. It's just like going outside and getting some dust on you, right? It's going to happen. It's not a big deal. They're around you all the time. What's important is that you return to your heart and reclaim your space.
Totally. Like that's a source of power. You know, that's the big message I want the audience today to receive, is that in the same way that if our child does something and gets in trouble, we actually give them more love. That's the way we need to navigate entities. You don't remove an entity by grabbing a sword and going and killing it. To this example, I actually give it love, and that's how it actually gets destroyed.
Yes.
Even though I'm capturing it, putting it in a freezer.
Demon be gone. I love you.
Yeah, it's really, I love you, right? The frequency of that at such an accelerated rate that brings it back to wholeness. And so when I had an entity attachment, what I needed more than anything was, you're not broken. It's actually a source of strength. And when these experiences have happened in my journey or with my clients, same thing. You're not broken. It's power. It's strength. You are the light, and you're the clean room. You're the clean car. And this is just the dust and the bird poo that happens as a byproduct, not because you're broken, but because you're actually that whole. That's the conversation I would love to see in the world more, is that,
especially with kids right now.
Oh, wow.
I feel like this next generation that's coming in, I feel like they're under such attack. Where I don't want to get into it, but just where they feel as though they're taking it all personally. And really getting depressed. And I feel as though if they could just have this simple tool, even if they had a little mantra, they could say a spell, carry a little stone, anything to empower your child, to make them feel like, oh, this thought isn't mine. I cast you away, or I love you and I set you free. Like, let them have fun with it. Another thing I have my kids do is just gently, kind of fanning or like, your energy field, just like visualizing any holes coming, sealing up, any energies, anything attached to you, like just letting it all go, so that you start to feel more whole, more in control, and you start to feel more just that love. Right.
I like to say you only need light, sound, and breath. You can do it all sovereignly. To be able to sit here and cleanse my energy from head to toe, it's in me, it's in you. Just like today with the command. Once we commanded, the energy cleared, and here we are, right? It is in our power. It's not like, stop the bus. Oh my God, I'm so afraid. What if it gets worse? It's just,
because now we're feeding the energy. It's like, no, don't feed it. Reclaim your power.
Yeah, it's here, right? It's here, out. It's here, out, instead of, what I find is that a lot of people go out, in.
Right.
Maybe that tool, maybe that thing, but it's here.
It's always inside.
Ground, shield, protect, cleanse, light, sound, breath. It's here. It's all within you. And you would be floored by what happens as a byproduct when all the energy comes in from here.
Wow. That is so incredible. You've given us so much great information, so much stuff to think about. We're going to have to post, because you have amazing courses. You're a teacher, you're a healer, and people can reach you. You have a website. We're going to post your website.
Fantastic. Thank you.
But this was incredible. Thank you so much. I hope to have you on again.
Oh, part two.
Part
2 with the Italian Canadians coming together to talk all things entities. I would be honored.
I'm all like, high five.
Thank you.
Until next time, you guys, keep tapping in. If you want more, please join our community at marisagrieco.com.